And then a few doors down from that, there's a chat button. If you have any questions for me during the presentation, maybe I could get you a link, or maybe I could provide some clarity to a resource Dr. Baird talks about, please go ahead and put that over there. We are recording today's episode. This is one of our most requested recorded episodes because it's great to share with team, office managers, other people who will be adopting this into the practice once we all reopen, and how you can use it the best. And if you're a current compassionate finance user, we'd love to hear from you. I put a little message over there in the chat. Going to probably try to have one of you on today. All right, well, we'll get started with Dr. Baird here in about 3 minutes, and we're happy to have you with us this morning, so thank you. All right, everyone. Hi, I'm Stephen from CFI here, and we are about to get started with Dr. Baird. We're going to do a little walkthrough of compassionate finance, especially something we get a lot of questions about, which is associate pay. This is going to be an awesome Q&A where you can find out anything you want to know about compassionate finance or Abella. So please get those questions into that little Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom meeting. We will go through those as soon as we're done with this presentation. Let's see here. There's also the chat button. That's a great place where you can interact with me. If you have any questions about something Dr. Baird mentions in the presentation, maybe it's a podcast, a website link, or a white paper that we could send you, please go ahead and do that there. We will be recording today's episode. Today is one of our most requested episodes for rewatch because it really does impact office managers, team, other people who will be adopting these tools into your practice. So it really is good for them to be reviewed. Also, we'll be sending over some links with resources in it. So we're going to go ahead and get started, but I would encourage you to go ahead and get your questions in now if you've been hearing about compassionate finance over these past few webinars we've done. And so let's go ahead and get started with Dr. Bruce Baird. Dr. Baird, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. Early morning workout. I'm going to go hit the links this afternoon, play a little golf, I hope. Dentists are going back to work in Texas today, so good luck, and across the country, and I think 14 states. So good luck to everybody that's going back to work. I think you're going to be fine, and just follow the guidelines and recommendations that we've been hearing and talking about. And you know, it's a new normal, but you know, I'm not so sure about that. I know we'll do a few things that'll be different as we go through the future, but you know, we're just looking for that treatment and that you know, that vaccine to help us have a little bit more confidence when we go to work. So I wanted to talk about compassionate finance with associates. It's a big question that's always brought up and asked, and I did a little presentation on it, and I mean, it's pretty amazing when you start looking at what's possible. So I'm going to go through that now. it is one of the most common questions that we answer. Common problem with associates is keeping them busy. And another key is keeping them productive. So the way that you use compassionate finance with associates, it's really limited to your own imagination. I'm going to give you what I think is the best practice that I've seen. But if you come up with another way of doing it that you think trumps what we're doing, then I want to hear about it. Even if it doesn't trump, it might be what someone else wants to do instead of what we're talking about. So associate compensation, let's talk about assuming an associate compensation of 30%. It could be 25%, 35, I don't, whatever your compensation is. But the patient chooses one of the following options when they come in your office. A cash up front, $5,000. The associate's paid 30% of $5,000 or $1,500. And $3,500 goes to you. That's pretty straightforward. Let's say the patient only does 2 crowns at $1,200 each, as that is all their insurance is going to cover. Insurance pays the $1,500. The associate's paid $450 out of that. And $1,150 goes to you as the owning doctor. And this is good. I put yellow and green. It's great for both parties. The patient pays $900 to cover the cost. Insurance paid $1,500, and associates paid $270, and $630 goes to you. So the associate's making $720, and the owning doctor's making $1,780. Patient walks out the door altogether because they can't afford it. Well, that's the least beneficial of any of the things that you can do. Obviously, the most beneficial is if a patient pays cash. At least that's what your perception would say. So let's look at that. Let's look at third-party associate compensation, because you need to understand what happens when a Care Credit or a lending club or one of these pays your associate. They, $5,000 worth of work and uses insurance as a down payment. A lot of times you may not even have to have a down payment. If they have insurance, obviously that's good. But as a down payment of $1,500 and finances after the 10% discount, $3,150 for 12 months for a payment of $262.50 a month. 85% of the loans that are done by third party are 0% interest for 12 months. I've seen that statistic. Associates paid 30% of the down payment, or $450, and $1,050 goes to you. And the associates paid 30% of the $3,150, not the $3,500, because there's a discount. And you get 22, and the associate gets 945, but still doing $5,000 worth of work. The associate is making almost $1,400. And you're looking at a couple of hours work. That's nice compensation. Let's look at associate. I'm going to call it option 1. It's the primary option that I'm talking about. But if you have CF, so your associate can do the work and the patient receives a monthly payment comfortable for their budget. So you as an owning doc, you're going to tell your associate, hey, do as much as you want with compassionate finance, and I'll show you why. Patient uses insurance as a down payment, very similar to what we were talking about a minute ago, and finances $3,500 at 13.9% interest for 30 months for a payment of $138.94 a month. Obviously, with this loan, there's no prepayment penalty, there's no retroactive interest, there's none of those things that really can irritate patients and cause them a lot of stress. Associate gets paid 30% of their production, of anticipated collections, 30% based on a discount of 25% of the finance treatment. Now we've got instead of 10%. So 10% is what I would call prime lending. That's when you get to do the work on the A's and B's, the higher end credit score patients. But what about the C's, D's, and E's? And that's really where you go, gosh, I don't know. I can't give a 10% discount because we have there's higher default rates in those people. But I want you to look at this very carefully, because associates getting paid 30% after the discount. Third-party financing have a 10% discount, subprime a 25% discount. So 3,500 times 0.75 is 2625. And let's look at how that's paid out. Associate is paid 30% of the down payment, just as normal. Whatever cash down payment your associate can get, they're going to get paid based on that down payment. $1,150 goes to you, $450 goes to the associate. Now the associate is paid 30% of the 2625, not 3,500. So they get 787. The office gets 4168. And you say, well, how on earth can you get 4168? We're only doing $5,000 worth of treatment. And we've already, the doc's receiving $5,200 or $318. So 1,200 compared to 5,318. So that's really where, where we look at it. So let's look at this a little bit deeper, third-party financing in comparison to doing CF. So you'd think the associate, well, they would love third party, they would hate doing subprime, but let me show you what the opportunities are. The associates paid 30% of the 1,500, or the associates paid 30% of 31. And what we're seeing here is $1,395. The office gets $3,255. And I want you to really look at the $3,255 for you owning doctors. Compassionate finance, the associates paid 30% of the 1,500, which is their normal pay on a collection. When they do the production in a case that is compassionate finance, you're actually going to pay them on the production with a 25% discount and letting you carry the interest. The associates paid $787. The offices paid $4,168. So if you look at the comparison, you've got $1,237 compared to $1,395. But down here in the compassionate finance, they can approve 95% of the patients. Up here, with the new normal that we're going to see, you're going to see these acceptance rates. It may be everybody with a 700 credit score or above, but what are you going to do to help the ones below that? It's not going to be a problem. The difference for the doctor in doing compassionate compared to doing third-party financing in the office is over $2,000. And this is the one that just freaks me out. I love it. Total treatment of 5,000. Remember, you were only going to do one crown. We've talked about this a bunch. You were only going to do the one crown, or your associate was only going to do one, but now they got to do 5. Let's assume a lab overhead of $60 a unit. So that's going to cost you as an owner doctor $300. Let's use a full supply cost of 4% of the 5,000. That's $200. With an associate compensation of $1,237. So your total overhead for doing 5 crowns instead of 1 now is actually $237. It's $1,737, but you receive $1,500 from the insurance company as a down payment. So basically what you're investing, you subtract the $1,500 that you got, this was your cost, $237 to receive $3,500 in paper, paying you for 30 months at a 13.9% interest. Obviously, if the interest was higher, you're going to earn more, but that pays out $4,168, and you've invested $237 with an associate. Now, that's a 215% return on your money for 30 months. And I don't know how many of you would not throw in 200. I'll throw 237 in every single day, all day long for this option. I mean, my associate can do all the comp finance that they want to do. Why? Because I know that I am going to become, I'm going to have opportunity to create massive wealth, but I'm also going to help more patients than we've ever helped before in our practice. So that's all I have on this. You're going to get a copy of it. So let's go in and let me figure out what I'm doing here. Let's get our, I'm going to stop sharing. There we are. All right.
All right.
And I know it's early questions. It's early for questions, but we have a list of pre-camp questions that we can always bring up. So
yeah, absolutely. And I've been going back and forth with the Dr. Bill Blandford, and he's having his grandkids over today for the first time in a while, so he couldn't join us live. So I promised I would ask him this question. I think you kind of covered it in the slides, but still there might be a little bit in there. All right. So the practice wants to start using compassionate finance as an option. The practice pays the associate 30% of the production, not collections. Okay. Assume a $5,000 case, $1,500 insurance used as a down payment. The practice breaks out associates production to calculate pay into 2 tranches, PrEP and CDAPs. So how does the associate pay calculated when using compassionate finance and booking the note?
It's going to go straight to the office. It's not going to be that's not going to be booked to the associate. I'm not sure if I understand the question totally, but if you're saying a crown is $1,000, let's just use that as an example, and you're going to book 500 at prep and 500 at seat from an insurance standpoint, I'm still paying. I'm going to pay the associate based on the 1,500, and whether it's production or collection. Obviously, if you're paying on production, the 1,500 is produced, and so you're going to pay them their regular pay based on production and the down payment. The actual note is where, so total amount of production is what you're going to take your 30% on. So, either way, it's really the same thing. It's only limited by your imagination. You can come up with a game plan, and you can send me a personal email, and we'll put that, if I didn't answer that question, or type something else in, and I'll try to give you a better direct answer.
Oh, right. Perfect. Yeah, I'll get you all coordinated, and we can work through that with him. Okay, Dr. Pham asks a question here. Do you post the $138.94 a month contract payment to the office, then the $31.26 a month patient to the associate at that time? Or do you pay the associate $17.37 when the contract is signed?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we have some doctors as a point of retention for associates. They are actually paying the patient over the life and paying the associate doc over the life of the loan. That's another option, meaning they get to share in the interest on every payment. But my preference for you as an owning doctor is to, and as an associate, if I was an associate, I'd be saying, hey, doc, get this compassionate finance because I want to produce, man. I want to do dentistry. I want to be able to tell somebody, let's do 5 crowns instead of 1 all day long. And I guarantee you, I would be one of the highest paid associates in the country. As an owner doctor, you really want to set up a separate bank account. Yes, we know that 1,500 is not going to be coming in maybe 30 days. Okay. I'm okay with that. I'm a big picture player, and I'm an abundant mentality investor. So I'm really going to shoot the 1,500, pay them that. Actually, they won't make that much, but I'm making a little extra. If I have a CERAC, for instance, instead of $300 for my crowns for 5, I'm only paying $150, $180, depending upon the number. But so I would do it just as I said at the time. Now, if you want to do it a little different, and for every time you get payments in for that associate, you're going to be able to figure out their percentage, 30% of that payment and 30% of that interest. We have some docs that are doing it without offering the interest to the associate. So there's a lot of ways of doing it. My preference as an associate, if I'm going to wait for the money, I want to share in the interest. That's just me. If I am the owner doctor, I like having it just get it out of the way, pay for it. I got $237. We're doing 5 crowns. I'm investing $237 every time my associate does 5 crowns. I'm investing a little bit of money, but the return you saw was pretty enormous.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. We had a comment in the chat, so let's see if we can kind of turn that into a question. So tracking this payment seems confusing if an associate is paid on collections. Do you use some kind of Excel calculator? No. What I do is I look at everything that we're booking to the dental software. We're doing $5,000 worth of work. Patient pays $1,500 down. Okay. I want you to think as an owner doc. Okay. $1,500 is booked to the dental software. The $3,500 is a contract that is over here in your new bank account, your evergreen revenue, new business. It's a financing business that you have now. And so you're going to pay the doc anything that they do on compassionate finance over here that gets booked as compassionate, you're going to pay them on production, even if you usually pay them on collection. In this instant, you want to pay them on production because you get the benefit of interest over the life of that loan. And it's going to be a much better deal for you. Now, if you're trying to book everything into your software, which we had docs do that early on, 9 years, we've been doing this. And I
just don't do that, because you want to see this money over here accumulating, and you will see that money accumulate in ways that you can't even believe. So hopefully that'll answer that question.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Dr. Joseph Lepkowski asks, our office does not know about compassionate finance. Where can we get more information?
We will actually send you a recording of Compassionate, exactly what we do. It's basically, we help you create your own in-house financing. And when you do that, the down payments that you get that cover all your hard costs go into your software as work completed. The flip side, everything that's financed, which Compassionate Finance does all the collections for you and everything with interest, they charge about 7% of the interest. So if you're in a state that can do 18%, you know, you're making 11% interest. We're making our 7 for collecting it. You don't have to worry about it. And we're working on some new things right now with the A and Bs, and we're not ready to launch that yet, but maybe by next Friday, I'm going to be talking about the A's and B's and the possibility of offering 0% financing or lower financing rates for them. So, but we will send you a full recording of Abella and of Compassionate Finance to everybody that's on here. You're going to get the pre-recording that we've done on those, so you'll have it.
Absolutely. And please, I posted a link over in the chat for info, compassionatefinance.com/offer. If you click that, you'll have the option to request a demo from us. That's a great way to kind of start those conversations about bringing compassionate finance into your practice. And of course, we are offering no setup fee right now. If you sign up before June 30th, we will knock that $1,500 payment that is usually reserved for setup fee right out from the beginning. So there's never been a better time to get started with compassionate finance. Okay, let me see here. So Dr. Baird, I put out the call when we first got started. You know, we have a mixed audience here. We have some folks who have been using Compassionate for a while. We have some brand new folks who signed up. And then we have some new people who are kind of checking it out for the first time. So I pulled somebody up and I thought maybe we could bring him on to see what his experience has been like, Dr. Amir Dowd. And I thought maybe we could have him talk about using compassionate finance in his practice.
You bet. Let me see if I've got Amir over here. I can get him to talk. Oh, there you are. Hey, buddy, you're silent still. You look you look like you're ready to go play golf today.
Well, look, you know, I am actually at the golf course, but I live at the golf course. I haven't been playing any golf, Bruce. And I got to wear a hat because my wife isn't as skilled as yours with the clippers yet. So it's very ugly underneath here. So I gotta find somehow to get ready for work next week. So
I understand.
So look, I've been using, I mean, as you know, I've been using compassionate finance now for about, 5 years. I think I started it pretty much right after I went to PDA. And it's been a great tool for us. I think people, I ran up a really long, I'm sure a lot of people have run into this problem where you have all these, you know, you do a handshake, right? Oh, you'll pay me, right? You know, and you do the work and then, you know, they never pay you. And I realized I had about, I don't know, $450,000 in-house financing that wasn't being collected. I'm sure I must be the only dentist in the world that's ever happened to, right? I can't imagine it would happen to anybody else. But the beauty and the magic of compassionate finance is, number one, the ability to be able to say yes to the patient, right? Ultimately, we're in this to do good. I think that's what your t-shirt says, Stephen. Doesn't it say do good?
Do good.
Yeah. And the reality is there is so many people that the number one reason they don't receive care is obviously fear, but number two reason is going to be finance. And it's, you know, I have a good friend of mine, Mike, and he always talks about, you know, breaking down the barriers, right? What can we do to get that patient to say yes? And if we're able to provide them with a monthly payment that they can afford, that makes sense to their budget, and we can get the dentistry done, then it's a win-win-win. You know, I have no qualms about it. You know, the fact that it's paper and the fact that you can charge interest, interest offsets risk, right? I mean, that's what the banks do. And ultimately, you know, if you're taking on liability, then you need to have that interest to protect you. You know, my portfolio, it's pretty, people, and I've had a few people not pay me, right? It happens. You know, people run into hard times. Having said that, my portfolio is currently performing at 111% in collections.
Wow.
So it's actually outperforming everything. So I love the fact that I'm not necessarily reliant on this third-party company. You know, like you said, Care Credit, you know, everyone's credit scores are getting hurt. Care Credit, I think you're right. I think it's going to really, you know, end up being, you know, people in the, you know, high sixes, you know, 700s, and that's going to be few and far between. We're going into a situation post-COVID that's different, and I think it's the dentists that are going to be able to say yes are the ones that are going to thrive. And to be honest with you, the fact that you're not even charging a setup fee, it's literally you can't lose.
Because I know you paid a setup fee, didn't you?
Yeah, don't remind me. I'm going to ask you for that back now. I'm expecting a $1,500 check from you, Bruce.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
no, I mean, and I was happy to do it. I was absolutely happy to do it, because ultimately, when I look at, you know, numbers don't lie. And I can see, you know, I don't use compassionate finance for everything, right? I still have to, you know, there's different levels of practice, right? There's people that are, you know, level 1 practices, level 2 practices, and it all depends on your cash flow and everything else. But this is really reserved for me, for patients that were otherwise going to walk out the door. Well, guess what? We're going to have plenty of free time. I'm confident that I'm going to have openings in my schedule. I would rather be able to say, you know what, patients in hygiene, you need this crown. Let's get this done today. Let's figure out a payment that you're comfortable with. Let's move on and fill my schedule. So
well,
awesome. I use it quite a lot.
I appreciate you sharing that with us, Amir. I know you used it 111% of what he's saying is he's actually counting his defaults. He's actually making $111 on every 100 he does.
I think I made $27,000 in interest this year.
Wow. And that's 21% better than if you took Care Credit up front. Yes, you're having to wait for your payments, but I'll take a 21%, you know, gain. So yeah, that's
right.
awesome.
The other thing is with Care Credit, Bruce, is I think people forget is that, you know, if the average, let's say, what's the national average practice running at? 30% profitability, give or take, right? Yep. So if I do $1,000 crown and I actually only get paid $900, well, my net margin on that $1,000 is only $300, right? So they didn't take 10%; they actually took 33% of my profit.
That's right.
That's a lot.
No doubt about it.
I mean, that's not a joke. So,
oh, I know. Well, thanks
a lot, Amir. So,
and hopefully I'll see you soon, and we can maybe play a round of golf or just have a
yeah, we're gonna have to figure out your handicap though, Bruce. You
know. Yeah, I'm playing for the 3rd time today in a good while, so I'm kind of excited.
Actually, sometimes that's the best time. You know that.
I know. It's good. All right. I posted a poll, and this is an interesting poll. It is, do you believe having multiple revenue streams will be important in the future? 100% of our respondents, we still only have about not even half of the people responding. And do you believe patients will be more cash conservative moving forward? Yes, they're going to be more cash conservative, and 100% of you said yes to that too. So the reason we ask those questions is if you think that we're going to go back to just the same old, this is what was the birth of compassionate finance, was 2008 financial crisis. I was seeing patients that couldn't pay, and I was seeing patients that, you know, it was more difficult. And so those were the things that I noticed, and it has made a huge difference for patients, you know, around the world. So it really has been a fantastic option for, you know, for patients. So that's one thing. And I'm going to read a quote, and this quote means a lot to me because I am one of these guys, but it's Leo Tolstoy. He said, "The most difficult subjects can be explained to the most slow-witted man," which, okay, "if he has not formed any idea of them already. But the simplest thing cannot be made clear to the most intelligent man if he is firmly persuaded that he knows already without a shadow of a doubt what is laid before him. What that means is when I'm talking to doctors and they're used to doing things one way, the simplest concepts can't be explained because they already know. And so I just want you to be open-minded. It's definitely 180 degrees different than what you've ever been taught, but the opportunity to make revenue, it's the first time in your dental practice career, you actually can produce dentistry at such a high level and help more people. And we call it doing good while doing good. So anyway, what questions do we have?
Only webinar where you'll get Tolstoy. That is a fact. So thank you for that, Dr. Baird. That was fantastic. Yeah, great question here. Do you finance for dental sleep medicine patients?
If I get the hard cost covered, I'll finance just about anything. We just financed. We've had guys finance cattle with compassionate finance, and we've had guys finance some dental equipment. Again, there's no money brought up, but we've worked with a couple of dental dealers that said, look, I got some used equipment. I'd like to sell it. And they've worked with us. So yes, we do.
Absolutely. Dr. Kent Smith over here in Dallas, huge compassionate finance user, huge sleep guy. So certainly.
If you can, if it's costing you $500, $600, whatever it is to make the appliance, whatever other hard costs you might have, just make that your down payment. My sleep in our practice is about 95% driven by team. And so, shoot, as long as I get my hard costs covered, I'll let the team do the work, and I'll reap the benefits of financing plus interest in my separate business.
Yeah, absolutely. And 30-second approvals, we can approve just about everyone too. So, it really puts you in a position where you can treat every patient.
And let me address that too. When we talk about 90% approvals, 95, 100%, could you approve every single person? Yes, you could. Would I recommend that? No. What we do is we go into more than just their credit score, their FICO scores. We go in and look at their checking history. And let's just say, and most people do a pretty good job, of taking care. You're at 90% of Americans are used to paying monthly payments. Yes, they might miss one, but we come back and they, get it back going again. So yes, that does happen. But there are some, we say call for manual approval, which means it's up to you. We're telling you probably don't want to do it, but I'm going to share with you why you might want to do it. And for some examples, I would just say, no, we can't help you. But on others, let's just say we have a patient that needs 4 implants, and I'm going to place 4 implants. It's going to take me an hour. And, my hard costs for the implants are, let's just say they're $200 a piece plus maybe a surgical guide, whatever. Let's just say my hard costs are $1,000. It's going to take me 1 hour to do the work. And the patient says, Doc, man, I'd love to do it, but I just don't have $8,000. But I do have $5,000 I can put down. Well, I'm financing them. I don't care if I get the other $3,000. Now, is that stupid or is that a good businessman? Now, I prefer to think that's being a very smart businessman, because I'll take the 5. That's 2,500 hour cash when the average dentist in the U.S. is producing $425 an hour. And that's not even cash. That's $425 production. So I'm going to get 5 times the national average, 6 times the national average, and it's going to be paid cash. I'll approve you, and good luck in getting that last $3,000. Are they going to pay maybe a few payments, maybe pay 7, but they also paid you $5,000. So whatever you get as a payment from that is just gravy. It's just gravy on top of the gravy. So it's that's what I wanted to point out. You're muted, Stephen.
All right, perfect. Dr. Wayne McLovin asks, very interested in compassionate finance, so I want to make sure I get the information to intro to my associates. So yes, doctor, I will send you not only today's recording. Dr. Baird did 90 minutes of frequently asked questions and Q&A on compassionate finance last week. So I'll include that in today's webinar kind of email update as well. and you can share that link with your team. And certainly, I just posted that offer over there in the chat again. If you just want to go through that and check that demo box, if you're not sure yet, that'll get you about an 18-minute demo of Dr. Baird walking you through it with great slides. That's another great thing you can share. So lots of resources for that.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right, let's see here. So we have a question here. We have patients that pay sometimes monthly with their health savings account or flexible savings accounts. So how will we pay? How will that payment show on the procedure that was done?
They pay monthly with their HSA account.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I guess my question would be: are you using their HSA account to set up financing? Is that's the question I would have back to you. If you're saying, I'm going to let you pay for 12 months and we're going to pull 12 months out of your HSA, yeah, you could do that. Compassionate finance is something I would prefer to let the patient worry about how they're going to pay it. And I'm saying we have financing available. They can pay with their HSA to compassionate, but you're getting interest on that side. So I hope that answers that question. I'm not sure. I just don't know. You know, I've not had that many folks. We have some with HSAs, but bottom line is I use compassionate finance as a standalone product there. So.
All right. This is a good one from Dr. Kevin Kellerman here. Please explain the benefits of opening a separate account for compassionate finance money to be deposited into. And thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And, you know, it's interesting as dentists, and I call it, you know, I've had Productive Dentist Academy for 16 years, and I've worked with doctors on increasing their profitability, their productivity. And what ends up happening is when you see money going into your practice, it just gets lost in what I call the spiral of overhead. It just gets in this spiral of overhead, and I don't want that. And so what I started recommending is this secondary account is a new business for you. The hard costs that you get over here in your dental software, obviously in your practice, is covered your hard costs. But this is setting a separate business model, which is the poll question. Everybody answered yes. We believe a secondary stream of income would be great. We've got people right now that are making $35,000 a month on work they did 3 years ago. And so, you know, the other reason to set up that separate account is human nature. When you look at that account and you go, oh my gosh, I've got 160,000 in there. When was the last time as a dentist you looked at an account that went to 100, you know, with 160,000 and was totally separate from your payroll, from your business, from your practice? And then all of a sudden it accumulates and now you've got 300,000. Yes, you pay taxes, ordinary income over there, but you can do whatever you want with that money. We have doctors that have used then there's two things. You've got the money in the account and you have the debt paper that's paying that account. The debt paper itself has value. It's an asset. It's an asset. And you can use just the paper as collateral at a bank. The money that goes into the account, that is money. You can do whatever you want to. I've said it before in programs. We've had a doctor bought an airplane, paid off their house, have built other dental practices with that money, using it as using the paper as collateral, refinance their house using the paper as collateral. So it's an asset. It's not like a 30, 60, 90, 120. These are signed contracts and patients pay them. But you have to understand, you're doing subprime lending for the most part. And like I say, we're going to do some things hopefully that will allow you to start doing more A's and B's that make sense. And then what you're going to find is you're building an asset class that dentistry's never had. So keep that separate account. The guys who do it, they use it more than anyone else. When it gets over here into this, you're like, oh, we had a patient default. Oh, crap. Well, I'm never using compassionate finance again. Dude, they paid 11 payments. It's the first one you've ever had default. They paid all your hard costs. This is a time value. So we flip it around. Over here, it becomes money to watch grow.
Perfect. All right, we have a question coming over here from the chat. This is an interesting one. I think we get it every now and again. What about pediatric practices and a parent with multiple kids who has high hygiene costs? We are a monthly fee for service, but the last 6 months have been losing long-term patients for out-of-pocket costs from having 3 kids at hygiene visits. Can compassionate finance work for this?
You know, I think, well, I'm just going to give you my opinion. I think that would be the perfect opportunity. I don't say this often, but it's the perfect opportunity for a membership plan or a membership program. So you're taking kind of their hygiene costs off the table and you're letting them pay monthly for their membership. If I flip it around, you can definitely use compassionate finance and say, you know, we have all the kids. Let's plan every year how much your expenditures are going to be. You can finance that. If they end up the next year with more fillings, that loan could be changed very easily. We can make changes on it. So, you know, this is a perfect opportunity for a membership plan, but also you can always use the thing I love about pedo practices. I mean, you love doing a lot of dentistry at one time. And that also, especially in a fee-for-service environment, compassionate is good no matter what it is. But I hope that answers your question. But yes, we've got pedo practices using it. We've got endo practices using it. We've got dermatology practices using it. So we've got people around across the board.
Yeah, vets, audiologists,
Yep.
Optometrists. You can use it in just about any industry you can think of. Okay, Dr. Tom Anderson asks, this is all new to me. We participate with Care Credit, but this sounds very interesting. It seems most of our patients pay at the time of treatment and others who can't qualify for Care Credit. How does compassionate financing help solve this problem?
Well, Tom, you know, again, we're going to send you the recording and I go through some specific reasons and things about that I think will answer those questions. But it's, you know, it's a great question. All of us have patients. I don't use, I mean, in 9 years, I've only done 1.2 million of compassionate finance. You'd think I would do it, you know, 1 million a year, but I don't. So I have some patients, they pay cash. I love it. My favorite patient is one who pays cash, for sure. My second favorite is one who pays me interest over a period of time. And I don't see the need to offer any other options. Now, a lot of docs still use the third-party financing and take 10% off the top. As an owner, that's 30% of the profit. So I step back, but we'll definitely send you the recordings, listen to those, and then come back on a Friday because you'll have some more questions. These have been really, really good, and we've never done it before until we've got docs at home. We may have to do these Q&As on Saturdays once everybody's back working. But I'm more than happy to do it anytime because I know the opportunity is perfect right now for compassionate. The other thing, and you know, one other thing, and this isn't your question, but what do we do when patients call? Like right now, I can't make my payment. What do? We say, you know, we'll say, Mary, here's the deal. Why don't I notice you have 30 months on your contract and your payments are $140. Why don't we stretch this out to 46 months? And that's going to lower your payments to 100. And let's skip this month's payment. Would that be helpful? We get letters every day from people when we renegotiate their deal because it doesn't matter to the dental practice. Remember, you got your hard costs covered. What you want to do is have them pay you over a period of time. Truth is, by extending the payments another 10 months, you make more interest. So, and we're able to also, sometimes they don't want a lower payment. They just can't make the payment this month. We'll just skip that payment, put it on the end. You make more interest. So it's a win-win for everybody. I can promise you, if you call a bank to say, I want to skip this month's payment, is there anything you can do? Right now, you might be able to because they've got 5,000 people calling them, asking them that. But you try doing that in 3 months or 4 months. They're going to say, no, you know, we're going to come repo your house. We're going to come repo your car. But you're not going to have to repo the teeth because we're going to make an agreement that will extend those payments.
I mean, 100%, right, Dr. Baird? So you have to think, coming out of this 25 to 40% of the people in a lot of these dentists counties and areas are going to be in that subprime area. They're consistently marketing to these folks, getting them in the door. They're not going to be able to qualify for care credit, and they probably can't come out of pocket. So you're leaving a lot of dentistry on the table if you don't have a tool in your tool belt to kind of really help those patients. So I'm going to put a little link here in the chat. It's called GeoFred. So just give that a click, open it in a window, and then find your county in there, and it'll show you that that kind of portion of the population that's being just taken off the table by if you're just relying on care credit or cash up front.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and it's, you know, again, we're going to be seeing people at 700 or lower credit scores not being approved anymore. But the big deal is, yes, they're being approved, but 85% of them are being approved for 12 months interest-free. The thing to remember, and we've got the statistics on this, but when people quit offering third-party financing, they actually saw a 61% increase in cash-paying patients, which that's without a 10% discount. Maybe you're offering a 5% cash discount. So instead of 10, it's only 5, but the cash is coming to you straight away. So that's interesting. Yeah, we're going to talk about Abella. If we have any questions about Abella, we will. So you just throw a question, and I saw one pop up.
Yeah, we had another one in the stream as well. That I think they wanted to just hear about it, find out what it is a little bit. But if anybody has a question, we can do that. I got 2 more compassionate finance questions, and we'll do a little bit of Abella, and then we'll take some of those questions, and we'll wrap it up for today. Okay, so Dr. Fred Martin asks, can the debt paper be sold to another company so that we can collect money up front if we wanted to?
Fred, that's a great question. Right now, if you were to, let's say, sell that paper to an individual, somebody in town that buys debt paper, you're going to get hammered pretty good on that. Excuse me. What we're working on right now, and of course, we're 9 years into this with $250 million, up close to $300 million in notes out there. Over the next couple of years, as the amount of paper continues to grow that we're processing, we're going to find the best deals for selling paper. That's my goal as well as founder of Compassionate. But my goal is for dentists to get top dollar for their paper. But yes, you could sell it. It's your paper. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Here we go. Dr. Pham asks, so if you have a separate account for the compassionate finance payment at the time of the contract is signed, do you post the total amount financed to the dental software?
Yes, I'll post the total amount. So let's just use the example, $10,000. We're doing $10,000 worth of work. We get $2,000 down. Usually we recommend 20% down. On some big implant cases, it might need to be 30% down. But let's just say it's $10,000, 20% down, you get a check for $2,000. You book $2,000 on the software, $10,000 worth of treatment, and you write off or adjust that $8,000 off the books. You do not want to try to collect it because that's in your compassionate finance business. So that's where we keep it separate. So, but it is accounted for, but then it's adjusted off. The other part of that is it's extremely important that, you understand if you have bonus systems for your team, which I do, and we're paying bonus for these, for my team every month, whatever comes into the compassionate account, I theoretically credit it as collection into the practice. And I use that as part of the bonus. So I'm not taking it off the table. I'm taking it off the table for my own business, but I'm still accounting for it on bonus, but I'm not putting it back into the practice software. So it allows us to start some months with 25,000 in collections before the month starts. I mean, we know we're going to have 25,000. So that's what we do.
All right, perfect. Why don't we do a little overview of Abella?
Let me just do one thing. I saw this. How did you end up with 25% discount? I want to answer that one right now. Is that what the question was?
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Well, we just pulled it out of a hat. You could do a 30% discount. You could do a 35. You could do a 20. You can do whatever you want. That's why I say it's limited to your imagination. It's going to be a good deal for your associates because you're going to get to do dentistry. You're going to do 5 crowns instead of 1. you're going to get to do more dentistry, you're going to get to help more people, and you're going to get paid more than you've ever done sitting here just hoping to do one crown at a time. And I see it all the time. Associates are the docs, the senior docs producing 800, 900 an hour, and the associates producing 350. And, and we also are going to be going into case presentation skills over the next few weeks, just to help, help the associates and help docs to get through that. So anyway, that's my answer to that one.
All right, perfect. Another kind of follow-up question in that chat: how to account the interest for the for patient compassionate finance in the patient ledger?
You don't. I'm telling you to open up a separate account, let the interest go there. Otherwise, it's a nightmare. We've dealt with it for 9 years, 10 years now. So we've dealt with it. You're better off putting it over there. Let your accountant worry about, interest. But that's all going to be ordinary income to you. But instead of you making what you usually make in your dental practice, you'll make that. But now you also have a secondary stream of revenue that at some point in time will actually be more than you're making in your practice. I guarantee it. Perfect.
How do we get a replay of this webinar? We are recording it. I will send you an email this afternoon, so it'll be in your inbox by 3 o'clock. Did you want to do just maybe a brief little synopsis of Abella?
Sure. Yeah, Abella is an AR software. It's not compassionate finance. Compassionate finance is to help people get dentistry done. Abella AR is, and we're going to send you a recording of it, but Abella AR collects money 30, 60, 90, 120, and it does it automated. It does it with friendly messaging, text messages, and emails. And one of the cool statistics is we are actually collecting at this present time 53% of everything over 90 without human interaction. So that is, what happens? Most people have one person who does insurance and does collections. That's what their job is. 83% of their time, they're actually on hold with insurance companies and dealing with patient benefits. 17% of the time they do collections. And they always work the list, highest collection to lowest. They never get to the $81, the $52. They just never get to them. They say, well, when they come in next time, we'll collect it. Unfortunately, that just doesn't happen. And we actually had one doctor in his first week, and this is during the pandemic, not in the office, collected $33,000 in that week of over 90. So there's really some interesting, it's an interesting, and it's 180 degrees different than what you've ever been taught, meaning you've been taught one way, so you can be the smartest person in the world, but the simplest thoughts are difficult to understand, according to Tolstoy. And I'm one of those guys.
And you challenged me with a question. You said, Stephen, how much have we collected since COVID-19 started? And I was able to get that number, and it is nearly $800,000 that Abella has gone out and collected for dental practices during the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, and some ridiculous number of patients too, like 7,000 patients or whatever. And with compassionate finance, we actually had 24 practices pay off their, or 24 patients pay off their balances in one day, which I think was a new record. They got their payment checks from the government, and then they said, well, I'm going to pay that off because there's no penalty for that.
Yep. What is the fee for Abella? So the fee for Abella is $299 a month. We are doing a free trial right now. If you sign up before June 30th, you can get a free Abella, and we are waiving the installation fee of $1,000 a month. And that $1,000 setup fee, just one-time setup fee, because what we do is Abella actually integrates with your dental software. So all the major dental softwares, we integrate with that, so it works directly with your system. But dude, go over and hit that offer page, click that demo button if you're not sure yet, and have it and really send that over.
Yeah, it's basically no cost to use Abella till July 1st, and so we can collect money for you while you're not even working. And it works. So watch the webinar, watch the video. You'll be excited when you see it.
All right. Had another question come in from Dr. Mark Kramer. When when Compassionate Finance sends us a check, does it break down what portion is principal and what portion is interest?
Yes, you get a full reporting on that. You can look at
Yeah, we have a whole dashboard set up
Okay.
that you can review, and we make payments every Friday. So if you have multiple patients who are making payments over the month, every Friday you and your team can sit down and take a look and see the money coming in, and almost everything else is handled by our team. So it really is no muss, no fuss here. All right. Dr. Baird, why don't we do just a couple questions that were COVID related or PPP related, and then we'll kind of wrap it up for the day here.
All righty.
Right.
And like I said, we'll be doing it next week also. So
Yep, absolutely, next week. And then we have webinars on Monday where we'll do a Bella on Monday. We'll discuss it in the back end of our presentation. And we are doing PPE again on Monday. That was one of our most visited, most watched, most requested. I'm still getting emails about it. So do sign up for Monday's webinar. All right, this is going to be a very interesting one. Good morning, Dr. Baird. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, gave us the green flag this morning to start with elective dentistry procedures on May 4th. Question: we have a patient that says he has had COVID-19. He says he is negative now. What protocol would we need to see this patient? Will we need a letter from the doctor saying he is okay? Thank you, from Dr. Cruces in Boca Raton, Florida.
you bet. I would want to get a letter. You know, I think at some point we'll be doing our own testing, you know, with the 15-minute test, find out if you've had it, if do you have the right antibody. And so, yeah, I'd want to get a letter, and then I would treat that patient just like you're treating every other patient, universal precautions and whatever you're doing. So, but I would feel really comfortable working on them. You know, it's kind of like back in the HIV days, back in the 80s, where you didn't know who had it, who didn't, and it was a scary time.
All right. This is about PPP. I applied in 3 banks. One finally got approved, but it has been 2 days and I have not received a document to sign. They say it needs to be funded within 10 days. If not, it will be voided. Should I be worried? Should I follow up?
I would follow up for sure. You know, a lot of people that applied early on, I think the applications are, you know, bygone. They're gone. So I think that there's opportunities here to get it, but I would call the bank, find out, hey, what's going on, guys? I know the smaller community banks are the ones who are funding things. Frost Bank has done 12,700 loans. A PPP, Bank of America has done 1,000. And I've got a bunch of people that have been telling me, I applied with Bank of America. I haven't heard anything, not a word. You know, I don't know. Some of the big banks have just dropped the ball here. Whereas Frost is a local, not a local bank, but it's a regional bank in Texas out of San Antonio. So I'd definitely reach out.
All right, very good. I think that'll wrap it up for today, Dr. Baird. I think you answered quite a few questions for everybody, and that great associate pay kind of walkthrough at the beginning was fantastic. So we will be sending out a recording of today's webinar to you. It'll get in your inbox by 3 o'clock. Do take advantage of that offer link that I put over in the chat. Go ahead and click through that. Even if you just want to check out a demo, it's certainly going to be worth your time. Dr. Baird, thank you so much for your time today.
You betcha. Thank you, guys. And I look forward to talking to you again on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I don't know who we're going to have on the show on Thursday, but we'll let you know. I've been having a guest every Thursday. So good luck, and everybody stay safe. Thank you.